What if the parts of yourself you've been avoiding are the very things holding the key to your happiness? The anger, jealousy, ambition, even the selfishness you've buried. They're not flaws. They're clues. And right now, they're sitting in the shadows, waiting to be set free. The parts of yourself you've been taught to hide by society, family, or even yourself don't just vanish. They linger. And rejecting them? That's like trying to silence a fire alarm by unplugging it. But sooner or later, the fire spreads. And that fire burns, finds its way into your relationships, your habits, even your health. But what if that shadow you're so afraid of is not the villain? What if embracing it could be the treasure map to the real you? Every time someone pushes your buttons, every time life feels off, it's your shadow asking your attention. Not to ruin your day, but to remind you that you are more than the polished version you've been showing the world. That true authenticity and fulfillment can come when you look deep within. So, facing your shadow doesn't mean falling apart. It means coming alive. So, let's put a light on these shadows and step into the fullness of who we really are. What is the shadow? Ever wonder why some parts of yourself feel off limits, like a no-go zone in your mind? It's made up of all the traits, emotions, and desires you've been told since childhood are bad, wrong, or too much. Things like anger, jealousy, selfishness, or even ambition. Instead of expressing these parts, you learn to shove them deep down and pretend they don't exist. But just because you ignore them doesn't mean they go away. They linger in the shadows, waiting to be noticed. When we're little, we're handed an invisible list of acceptable behaviors. Be polite, be helpful, be happy. Crying too loud? That's embarrassing. Standing up for yourself? Rude? Showing off? Oh, that's just not who you are. And so, a mask forms. This is your persona, the polished version of yourself you present to the world. And for every part of yourself you decide to highlight, there's another part you hide. That's your shadow. It's like the dusty attic of your mind, filled with all the stuff you didn't know where else to put. And guess what? It's not just a dumping ground for so-called bad traits. It's also where suppressed creativity, buried confidence, and forgotten desires go to collect dust. The thing about shadows, though, is that they don't stay quiet forever. Yes, they can stay hidden forever, but not quiet. Ignoring your shadows manifests them as patterns in your life that create hurdles for you. The more we disown them, the more resistance builds within us, and the more we live with discomfort with our own authenticity. These shadows aren't bad traits in actuality, they're the misunderstood traits. So, let's stop seeing shadows as our enemy. It's just a part of you that's been exiled for too long. And while it may seem dark and messy, it holds the key to a more whole, authentic version of you. The importance of our shadows. Think of your shadow like a mirror you've been avoiding for years. You can try to ignore it, pretend it's not there, or throw a sheet over it, but eventually it will reflect back at you, especially through the people and situations that drive you absolutely crazy. When you dislike someone intensely, it's not always about them. Maybe it's their arrogance, their laziness, or their need for attention that makes you grit your teeth. But are they really the problem, or are they holding up a mirror to parts of yourself you've been running from? They trigger these deep, suppressed parts of us to come out, and when they come, we resist them with hate. And that hate is only projected out to people who we then say, we dislike. Ignoring your shadow has consequences far beyond these emotional reactions. When you deny these hidden parts of yourself, they don't just disappear. They shape your life in ways you don't even realize. The more you suppress the parts of yourself that don't fit the mold, the more you start living life based on ideas given to you by others. You keep straying away from a life that could be deep and meaningful, and instead start living with a feeling of being lost in this world. When you keep rejecting yourself, these parts begin to manifest into physical ailments. Science says most of the chronic problems humans face today are mentally driven. It's the suppression and rejection of yourself that brings these parts outwards as physical problems. But recognizing the shadow is like flipping on a light switch. Once you see it, you can start to understand it. And when you understand it, only then can you understand a life that's true to you. The shadow isn't here to destroy you, it's here to free you. By embracing it, you reclaim the parts of yourself you've been told to fear, and you step closer to the version of you that's raw, real, and unapologetically authentic. Embracing our shadows. Society hands out rules about what is acceptable and what isn't. But by following that, you're not just silencing the stuff deemed as bad, you're silencing your greatness too. When you've suppressed such major parts of you, can you ever fully accept your depth? If you've based your identity on the shiny parts of yourself, you've rejected who you truly are. Often people suppress these parts because even looking at them brings them discomfort. It actually feels logical to not look at these things. We all want to be the so-called good people that fit well with others. But, ironically, true self-acceptance only happens when you embrace your shadows. Once you have yourself truly accepted, you stop projecting your insecurities onto others. You can show up as your whole self without masks and allow others to do the same. The more you accept your entirety, the more compassion you have for other people's entirety. Suddenly, those quirks that used to annoy you become relatable. The judgments fade, and understanding grows. It's only when we stop trying to fit in do we actually build deep connections in our lives. And let's not overlook something shadows can truly unlock: boundless creativity. Some of the greatest artists often use the phrase tapping into their darkness as an inspiration for their work. That's their shadow being used effectively. It's a wellspring of raw, unfiltered creativity, because it's a whole new identity within you that's just bubbling to come out and express itself. So it's through the shadow that true uniqueness in your work can be achieved. The shadow is actually a treasure chest, hiding the qualities that can change your life in ways you'd have never believed. The art of shadow work. Embracing the shadow sounds empowering, right? But here's the big question. How do you even begin to face the parts of yourself you've spent years running from? It's not like there's a roadmap labeled "Confront your inner darkness and find treasure." But don't worry, there are ways to start this journey. And the best part? You don't need to be perfect at it. Shadow work is messy, raw, and deeply personal. That's the point. Step 1. Self-reflection. The first step to any inner work is to pay attention to yourself. Ever had someone annoy you so much it feels irrational? Instead of brushing it off thinking you just dislike them, ask, why does this bother you so much? The things that trigger us the most in others often mirror traits we dislike within ourselves. This isn't about blaming yourself for how others act. It's about being curious about your reaction. Your emotions are breadcrumbs, leading you straight to your shadow. Step 2. Journal honestly. Grab a journal, or even just your phone's notes app, and start writing about the traits or behaviors that bother you. Don't hold back. This is a space for brutal honesty. Questions like, have I been taught to avoid or suppress this part of myself? What might I be afraid of if I embrace this side of me? This kind of shadow journaling allows you to go deeper into your suppressed self. Step 3. Conscious acknowledgement. Once you've identified parts of your shadow, acknowledge them without judgment. Facing your shadow can feel uncomfortable. It's supposed to feel uncomfortable. And it's easy to fall into self-criticism. But every trait or impulse in your shadow exists for a reason. It's trying to protect you, even if it's doing so in an outdated or unhelpful way. Self-compassion is your greatest ally here. Treat your shadow like an old friend you're reconnecting with, not an enemy to be defeated. Step 4. Integration. Here's where the magic happens. Integration means finding healthy, productive ways to express the traits you've suppressed. The goal isn't to change who you are, it's to bring balance with this newfound identity within you. To give you an example of this integration, let's say, if your shadow holds anger, learn to channel it constructively. Use it as fuel to stand up for causes you care about, or to make changes in your life that align with your values. Anger is portrayed as a villain in society, but it's one of the strongest emotions that bring change. Use it to drive results rather than using it to react negatively. Integrating these traits is hard, and everyone has their own way of integration. There's no guide that can be given. Like I said, shadow work is deeply personal. But once you do it, you turn what once felt like weaknesses into strengths. You're not eliminating your shadow. You're harnessing its power. Shadow work isn't something you have to do alone. In fact, sharing your journey with trusted friends, mentors, or therapists is a great idea. Talking about your shadow in a safe space helps you gain perspective and feel less isolated. A good therapist can guide you through tricky emotions and help you navigate your blind spots. Trusted friends can reflect back the parts of you that you might struggle to see yourself. The key is to find people who create a judgment-free zone where you can explore your shadow without fear of rejection. Shadow work isn't a one-and-done deal. It's a lifelong practice of self-discovery. And with consistency, you'll find yourself living more authentically, with less fear and more freedom. Laughing heals from within. Shadow work might sound heavy. Facing your deepest fears, embracing the parts of yourself you've avoided for years. There's where using humor comes in. Humor isn't about making fun of others or yourself. It's actually wisdom. The wisdom to laugh through the seriousness of life. The wisdom in understanding that life is more than the hard days, that it's more than being perfect. It's the wisdom to understand life is actually just a play, a playful set of events. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. But the play keeps going on. Become the trickster. Ever heard of something called the trickster archetype? It's the part of us that thrives on mischief, challenges the rules, and laughs at life's seriousness. The trickster doesn't approach problems head-on. It dances around them, pokes fun at them, and flips seriousness into fun. When you let this archetype in, you stop taking yourself so seriously. It reminds us that life is messy, and that's okay. It's not about fixing every flaw. It's about learning to play with them. Humor is a strong source of healing. When you laugh at your so-called flaws, you stop identifying so closely with them. You stop being so ashamed of them. Suddenly, that jealousy or anger you've been rejecting isn't your negativity. It's just a part of you. That shame starts to dissolve. Think about it. The most embarrassing moments in life become hilarious stories over time. Using humor for shadow work is like speeding up that process. Laughing now instead of waiting years to realize it wasn't such a big deal. Maybe you can start naming these particular parts of yourself something funny. Whenever you feel them come up, rather than resisting, call them out with the name. It's not about making fun of your shadows, it's about befriending them. We all have friends that playfully tease us, and we do the same to them. And these are usually our closest people in life. It's just about using this same logic, but inwards. So start adopting laughter as a path towards healing. Life is play. When you laugh at your shadows, you stop resisting them, and you start accepting them. You realize that even the darkest parts of yourself are just trying to do their best in this wild, unpredictable play called life. Shadow work doesn't have to be a somber trek through your psyche. It can be a wild, messy, joyful exploration of everything that makes you, you. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't to fix yourself. It's to embrace the whole, imperfect, glorious human that you are. The shadow isn't something to fear. It's a guide waiting to show you the parts of yourself you've left behind. By embracing your shadow, you don't just heal, you evolve. You step into the fullness of your authenticity, unburdened by masks and unshaken by judgment. Self-acceptance isn't about highlighting only the good parts of you. It's about embracing all of you. And the more you accept your shadow, the less power it holds over you. And the more freedom you have to live a life that feels deeply and truly yours. So take the first step. Reflect, laugh, journal, integrate. Let your shadow be the key that unlocks the treasure chest of your truest self. You are not broken, You're beautifully whole. And now, it's time to start living like it. So go ahead, laugh at your flaws, play with your quirks, and watch as the shadow transforms from a monster under the bed into a trusted companion on your journey to self-discovery. Comment below what parts of yourself have you suppressed. And if this video spoke to you, subscribe now. If you want to build a deeper relationship with yourself, which brings more self-acceptance into your life, watch this video right here. Always remember, Habitual Harmony is here to help you live an authentic life.